Hello everyone, this is a follow-up video on reviving All-Star Battle Royale. I made a Reddit post in the past where I explained my discoveries, and I want to make a follow-up video on it to show more details what the state is and the more reversing I have done. So let's continue with my story. Basically, I discovered one services, the IP mapping REST services, and this is just communicating on the HTTP protocol. So we managed to figure out where this protocol is being handled in the game code, and I managed to reverse engineer this part. I will show later on how I did this. So we managed to respond correctly. I made a mistake in my story. I expected it should be a JSON response, but later on I discovered it has to be a XML response. So we fixed that part, and basically this protocol is going correctly. Still, the game is not continuing after disconnection. I've seen two kind of connections are being made that are kind of questionable. So the main thing that is going wrong is all these to-do things. So there are functionality in the emulator that are not implemented yet. And I cannot pinpoint yet which one is going falsely that makes the game not continue to go online. So far my biggest indication is these two functionality, and I will explain later on what's going on with those functionality. I did some digging into and figuring out how those functionalities should work, or at least so far what I understand. So let's see. Another thing what I want to correct myself is that I made a conclusion about the battle final protocol. Basically, if everything should work, this domain is being called if you go online, and it will communicate with the services on port 10023, if I'm correct, but I will show you later. So the first thing of all, people start discussing on it, and especially PS Chop has helped me out. He discussed a lot of details about the game to give a really better understanding about the file structures and how the code is being executed into the file. So a really big thank you for helping out. A second thing is he shared some network captures, so it gave me an indication how the connection should work, but not everything is clear enough. So on the Discord channel we also talked about it, and eventually this person came along. He helped us pretty nicely with the all-star packets. So with these two things we can conclude a lot of conclusions. So first of all, let's open the packets, and the most important one in this package is the connect and boot to main menu. Well, booting up to main menu. So this will be the biggest indication what's gonna happen. So there are different kind of domain names that are being requested. So the PlayStation NP domain names are all handled by the PlayStation Network. So it's all about network synchronization, no, not network synchronization, account synchronization, grabbing PlayStation Store things. Maybe I can show it differently. If you are running the PlayStation 3 emulator, let's take the PlayStation 3 emulator. I say PlayStation 3 emulator. Come on. PlayStation 3 emulator. So if you run the PlayStation 3 emulator and you have run the game, you're gonna see. Oh God, this one didn't have run the game yet. Okay, let's run the game. Okay, well, let's update, I guess. Whoop-de-doo. Okay, we're gonna run the game. And what you're gonna see is that the game is loading all the packages in. He will decrypt the packages and load them in. Those are the PNAX files, if I'm correct. At least PSChap has managed to decrypt those files, and there's a tool out there that can unpack those files and unpack and pack them again. So it has potentially possibilities to modify the game. I I saw on GitHub people already worked on it. Well, now we have now we have run the game, so we exit the game. We go to logs and we go to the logs, and what you will eventually see, so I'm looking for a specific library, systemnet. You're gonna see is that the systemnet module has been imported. And what you also will see is that all the functionality names over here and the function address is being mapped. So with this address you can see in the binary where this functionality is being located. So this way we can define already functionalities that are already in the executable. So if we go into the module secnp and the secnp TUS, those are all PlayStation 3 network related things. It could be that you can send messages to each other, get a friend list, get a score and rank, a lot of things if you read over here. It's all related to your account and your friend list, and that you can communicate with them, and in game you can call those functionalities, so the game can take care of those GUIs, and that information is being retrieved. Also the DRM is being checked over also in this game. With the PlayStation 3 network. So keep in mind the NP is all related to the PlayStation 3 network calls. So to give our understanding, the real PlayStation 3 network is being maintained by Sony. The real PlayStation 3 will connect to those services and it will do those interactions, so getting your account information, get a friend list. But when the PlayStation 3 emulator team started to develop the emulator, they realized they couldn't create the same kind of protocol. If they would do that, they would have legal reasons, legal trouble, because I think, I'm not sure, the PlayStation 3 network is still in use, I think. And if they would recreate that protocol, they could have get legal troubles, and it would also encourage people to cheat. So what did they decide? They decide to take over all these functionalities, what you see over here, and they would respond to it with the correct parameters or the correct responses. So this way they created the project RPCN. So RPCN. And with this RPCN GitHub, they actually managed to reproduce this project. Let me check if it is this one. Yeah, with the server config. Oh yeah, this is the Rust. Yeah, okay. It's this project. So basically they created their own protocol to communicate this information, so your account information, your friend list, and all those kinds of things. They created their own protocol that they encrypt with their own key, and they managed to make a lot of games work. But at the moment, what I figured out is that not all of those calls have been handled correctly. So what would this cause? If one of these calls are not handled correctly, the game is missing those information. It could be the score, could be the ULA, it could be the friend list, maybe an icon that is missing, and the game can respond differently if those calls are not being handled correctly. So in this game specifically, um, a few calls are not handled correctly. If we go back to our to-do list and we're gonna look to the NP calls, we see two of those calls are not handled correctly. And we see how he's been handling them. He has a transaction ID and he expects to return data. And this data is gonna be empty if he's processing this call. So because this data is empty, something is not happening. I will later on show you the actual code, what's going on, and how I managed to play with this functionality. But basically, my biggest suspects is that one of these calls causes that it doesn't continue the connection, and I will elaborate later on. So what did I do in the meanwhile? So first of all, I described on my Reddit is that I decrypt the executable like this. You can also do it in emulator. I did it a bit the stupid way, I guess. And basically when we decrypt the executable, we have a eboot.bin that has been decrypted. So from that point on, we will have a raw executable. In my case, I use IDEA to analyze this executable. So, okay, we already have opened it. Yes. So basically I already have documented a lot of things in this executable. One of the things what I been documenting is the IP mapping prod .online communication. So if we go over here and then over here, we see that that this is the IP mapping prod request what he's doing on HTTP. So what did I do? I managed to figure out that this thing is being referenced on this position, and this position is being referenced in the code. So if we go to the code, we can actually see that that this website link is being used in the cell HTTP util parse URI functionality. So by default, this function is not mapped. If we press N and we remove the name, we can actually see that this is the address. So if we change it again, if we go to that log again, what we had before over here, and we go to this thing, we see that this address is being mapped on this address. So what we saw earlier is that this is the address basically. B27C4C. Exactly this address. So this way I can map a lot of functionality that is already in this executable. And that's what I've already done. You see all the util functions, all the cell HTTP calls. So I could do it over here, cell HTTP. So over here you see all the calls that is related to the HTTP connection. So in this case we can initialize it and we can see exactly where this HTTP initialize is being called. It's on this position. So this way we can easily figure out on in which function he's processing this request and how he handles the result or the response. So what you will see, he will initialize it, he parsed the URL, he will do a create transaction, he sends the request to the server, and then he gets the response code. So from this point on, we get a response from my custom server what I made, and then he's gonna check how much content he gets first the status code. If the status code is 200, he will get the content length. Once he gets the content length, he receives the content. So if we go down, we get the response, and eventually when the HTTP session is done and we get the response content, then we destroy the HTTP session. So he ends it. From this point on, we go to this way. And from this one on, I expected that the data is located on this address, if I'm correct. Yeah, it should be on this address. And he will process that address. What I told you earlier is that the response is a XML response. So what you will see is that that string XML response will be initialized to a XML object. Once it is an object, it will parse the XML string into the actual object. And once we have an XML object, we can iterate through it. We can get the properties of, as example, of the element location. So if I will show you my server, this is my server what I created. We have three kinds of servers. One of them is the IMapper, the other one is the TCP UDP matchmaker. I expect that the matchmaker will listen on these ports as far as I discovered. So this should work all nicely. Also the TCP handler, all fine. But right now we're gonna focus on the HTTP IP mapper. And what you will see is if this location is being requested as a GET request, then we're gonna respond to send location respond. So we will execute this, and this is our XML file what we're gonna send as a response. So what you will actually see is that our XML data has an element location, and it will have a lot of properties. So city, latitude, longitude, country name, country code, region. So if we look at this code, we first get the element, and later on we're gonna get the attribute. So we get the attribute city, we're gonna get the attribute latitude, we're gonna get the longitude, country name, and so on and so on. So I check the code, I debug the code, and I notice that he will follow this route if the response is correctly. And from that point on, this connection is being handled. For me, I haven't seen in the packet captures that this connection or HTTP session is being elaborated more. So this is everything what the response should be. So for now, this connection is being handled, and our server can run pretty easily like this. So we go to the all-star project Python 3 main, and we run the server. So, and if we run the game, he will connect to our thing. Before I forget, yeah, maybe that's something what I should show. How can the emulator connect to my server, you would think, right? So first of all, what you have to do is go over here, go to network, and what you can do is you can redirect the IMapping domain name to a specific IP address. So I'm running my server on this IP address, on a local IP address, and I say save configuration. So this point on, he will redirect the domain name to my server, and he will connect to my server over here. So when we run the server right now, and he's gonna initialize it, we gonna see he's gonna do a connection. Okay, come on boy. should have worked already. Did I do something wrong? Maybe I'm not running the other server. Wait a sec. I will explain later on what I do. Um, Let me check it again. We run this server, but we haven't run this server yet. Tools, and then PC, RPCN, and then target, release, RPCN. So, okay, this server is now running. Let's reconnect. And maybe it already had connect. No, not yet. So I will explain this later on. Sorry that this came all about. So now the game is running, as you can see, and he has now a connection to my IP mapping thing. Now you would wonder, why didn't he connect earlier? Well, that was because I'm using my own RPC and network. So as you go to network and you click network, you can select PSN status, and over here you can say RPCN. So this means that all those PN calls that I talked about earlier will be handled by my server. So first of all, I did the network and select it, and the next thing what I did is that you can select your own network services. So over here you click RPCN and you can click account, and over here you can add your own server. So I call my server LOL, I can add it like this, description and the host name, and then you can host your own RPCN server. That's also this project basically. So once added, you create an account, do the thing, and then you can check if the account is valid. So if the server is running, you can actually see that the server is working. And the account is also working. So that is a kind of understanding. Without RPCN, he wouldn't do the HTTP connection. Little detail. So yeah, basically we can already see he's responding correctly. HTTP IP mapping, it works. I didn't saw anything interested into this protocol, so we can basically forget about it. With or without this, he still will continue with IP mapping. So let's go to our candidates, right? So our candidates are these two, the sec and np lookup title, small storage async, and the lookup pool async. Still right now I don't have a clue what they're doing. The only thing what I know is he's gonna connect to the PlayStation Network, and it will look something like this. What he will do is he will request for our game, so this is our game code, and he will request the storage of this game. And what he will do, he will resolve the domain name, static resource.np, and he will connect to that IP with this as a HTTP session, and that server will respond something like this. So basically he's redirecting where this storage for this specific game is, and he will direct it to a different domain. He will also do it for ranking, and he will do it for trophy statuses. So we have different servers that he's gonna connect to receive his information. Well, as we can see, this is for the trophy and, oh sorry, the ranking. And the ranking was over here, if I'm correct. Rec and view. Yeah, that's the view. And on the ranking server from the PlayStation 3 network, you can receive the rank of a player. So he's using this HTTP request as a post request, and he's posting all his friends. I don't know why he does, but this way he can retrieve the rank of his own account, I suppose. Uh, I'm just explaining it, but I don't have a clue how this is being handled, because this is how it's being handled on a real PlayStation 3. With the RPCN implementation, what the emulator team has made, this whole thing works differently. And we have the source code over here for this RPCN implementation, and he's handling all the things differently for the score, for the room, for the game tracker, all these kinds of things. He's handling it differently. So these requests, what you see over here, are not being useful for the RPCN protocol. Yeah, we also have a trophy request, so you can retrieve your trophies with the game ID, and I suppose this is your game account ID, something like this, or this is your game account ID. I don't have a clue, but at least after the enter from 66 till the bottom, those are your trophy data. To me, this data doesn't make any sense yet. So I haven't looked into how he's perceiving the trophy data. What I already know is that the RPCN network services, what I showed you over here, they already store trophies, as far as I know. So for me, I didn't want to bother with it all too much. As long this project is handling it, I'm like a thumbs up. Good work, Ripley. Well, um, not all the connections what he's showing is public. Some of the connections are being encrypted, so especially the storage connection. Because of this, I don't have a clue how I could read this connection. Because the servers back in the days used the 1024 RSA key, we cannot decrypt the packets. Um, like in 2000, let me check it again, RSA challenge. The biggest RSA right now that has been cracked is 829, so we're getting close into this area. If there's any improvement in RSA cracking and we can hit the 1024 bits, then I will be probably the first one that actually gonna crack the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 2 keys, because I already did a really big project on PlayStation 2 where I focused myself on the DNS bypass. This was a security system for the PlayStation 2. Basically, with an RSA signature, the game could verify that you have a legit PlayStation 2 game, and they created the services that can respond to it correctly and give a signature, and only the DNS server could give a valid signature. So over here you can basically see what I did and all that kind of shit. But yeah, RSA cannot be cracked right now. Like, we're still with a security layer that we cannot bypass. So some network packages that has been captured in the past cannot be decrypted. So some information that I'm having, I cannot figure out what's going on. And who knows, one day we can. So let's elaborate now, right? So this is my two indications that I think go wrong. So what we see, we have the NP lookup title, and we can go to the binary, pop it up, over here. We put in the function name, and we gonna check where this function is being called. Well, what we will see is that the NP create transaction context he's creating, and then he will do a title storage async. How this functionality works, I don't have a clue. But when I look at the source code of the RPCN project, uh, if I can find it again, RPCN, no, S3, is it, which one is it again? Oh God, I'm failing over here. You can blame me. Okay, yeah, there you go. So if we go to the project, we're gonna go over here. Come on, we go to the project, we're gonna go to the functionality, and what you will see is the source code, how he's handling the call. So first of all, what we see, we have a transaction ID, we have data, we have the content length, the prio, and the options. So in our case, what we already know, based on the call that has been made in the past, he has a transaction ID, he has a pointer to the data, the max size that the data can be, the content length, so he's retrieving some data, I don't know what, and inside this pointer he will set the content length, and this point he will set the data, and we have no options and no priors. So basically this data is our main point for this call. So if we go over here and look into the log, we're gonna oh, we didn't came that far. Let's reopen the log. Oh, it's still being in use. Let's close the emulator. So because we have already run a session, we can actually see that he will get this far. And what we will see, we have to look up create transaction context, and then he's doing the storage async. That is basically this functionality in the executable. So far, I don't have a clue how this is working. When I was talking with my PlayStation 3 friend that is also reviving PlayStation 3 games, he was specifically saying that the async functionality should give something back, and it could be that this is not giving something back correctly. So if we gonna look into the code, he's gonna do some checks, and if any of those checks are not being done correctly, he's gonna give an error code what's going wrong. So that's the error code. But if everything checks out over here, we see that we actually set the data to 0. So there's no data being sent, and we say that the content length is 0. Even though with the real PlayStation 3, he should give data. What this data is, I don't have a clue. The thing is, what we can do is like, can we maybe check in the code how he's handling this? So as example, we can go over here, we're gonna execute a call, and in one of those calls, I think in parameter, which one is it? I think parameter 4 or parameter 0, he's gonna set the content, let me check it. He's gonna set the data and the content length. So I think the R28 is the content length, and he's gonna put it in the R4, and that's gonna be the fourth argument in here. So the fourth argument is R4. So R1 should be our data. Is there any R1? well, at least it doesn't matter. What we see, he will save, he will execute this function, and he's gonna use the result. I'm not gonna explain all the code. And so far, what I know, he's not gonna go this way. He's gonna go to this way. So what I know, he will execute this functionality. When I did some reverse engineering and some ChatGPT, I realized that this functionality is actually checking the content of that data, what we were seeing before, and he's gonna check the data if it has some checks. So he's gonna do some check, and on this check he's failing because our data is empty and he's not passing this check. So what did I do? We only have two options. We're gonna go to this code or we're gonna go to this code. Basically, what we're gonna see, he's always gonna call this functionality. The only difference is we're gonna set R3 to 1. That means he set something to true as a boolean. So this functionality is set to true, then that means something is being set enabled. So by default he set the R3 by 0, that is disabled, and or false, and over here we see it's true. So I was thinking like, why not patch this code to always set it to 1, and then R3 is always 1, and then he will always execute this code with 1. So that's what I did with the patch. In my documentation I did it over here. So this way we can influence how our data is being processed. So this is the code, how you can change it. So we can take the address and we're gonna go to the emulator. We're gonna start the emulator, we play the game. This debugging thing, it's really annoying. Maybe I'm doing something wrong, but basically I have to wait until he's loaded. Then I pause it when I have the black screen. What I do next is I go to the main thread, we go to the address what I just selected. That's the code of the R30. We can set a breakpoint. What we do next is we take this value, that's why modified assembly code. What we do, we click this assembly code, and this is the code what it is right now. We press E and we paste in the code. So the only thing what we change is the end. So 38600001. We change the 2. That means he becomes 1, and this is, you also see the result that R3 is always been 1, so it will be set always to true. So we patched it, and what we see is that the main thread is being paused, and what we do is we say play. So now our code is being patched, and the assembly code is being patched, but still this modification, he will execute that functionality with true. It still doesn't let me continue the game. So still I'm missing something. I don't know what, but this is one thing. Um, so let me think. This is one of the things that I still don't know how to deal with. I don't know what the data should be, and this is something what we maybe can figure out if we can decrypt the packages, that we maybe have an indication what this data could be. This is something that gets out of my head, and I don't have a clue how to fix this. Even looking at this code, it doesn't make any sense what kind of data there should be at this point. In the PlayStation 2 emulator, I cannot find any indication how this data has been processed. The only processing what I see is this functionality, the CBC94. So I'm stuck at this point. I don't know if this functionality is the triggering that it doesn't continue the online connection. Maybe someone can do some research in this. So my second indication is the sec_np lookup pool async, and if we go to the logs and we go to this function call, we see before he's executing this np look, he's executing it in the main thread, and he's doing it on the transaction ID 36. He's doing this before he's gonna get the trophies, it looks like, but I realized that the trophies is running on its own thread. This has nothing to do with the trophies. So if we look at the main thread, I haven't even checked it myself, to be honest. Okay, let's go up, 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 up. Jesus. Okay, let's do it differently. Page up, 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 up. Holy moly, how long is this? Okay, it's over here. So, dumping instruction state. So, he's executing. Nothing. Emulation is passed. Nothing strange is happening, basically. So, if we go back again, we see he's doing a pool async. What this is doing, I don't have a clue. So I'm kind of confused what he's actually doing with those calls. When I look online about it, and specifically I looked into the RPCSX3 emulator Discord. I see my friend Halvors. I see that he has the same thing, and he's doing it on the pure football blah 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 blah. So he's also encountering this case, and he also doesn't have a clue why this is happening. He didn't dig into it, but basically he also cannot continue the connection on this game. So yeah, there's basically no answer how to solve this. The developer team also haven't solved this case, as you can see over here in their code. Uh, there's not much documentation about this functionality. How? Oh, sorry, this is a different one. Same thing for this one. The result is empty, and my friend pointed out making the result pointer empty is not a good thing. Wait a second, the result pointer is not empty. Yeah, the result point is empty, and he told me that because of this, this could be causing issues. There should be a pointer address over here, so he told me like, hey, you could patch it like that. Let me check it. So, oh god, this is already a while back. So we talked about it, gave him the log, and he's basically saying like, hey, fix it like this. Poop. So what we could do is we can, oh no, that's the wrong one. We could solve it like this call. Even though this call should have data, but because we don't have any data, we don't have a good solution. So this is again that encrypted connection that is being handled on this call, that we don't know what kind of data there should be on this case. So again, the game is not processing this correctly and it cannot continue. So again, the game thinks the game is not online. Uh, yeah, this is basically the state that I'm in. Maybe I'm sounding really not clear, and I'm kind of in the dark in this case. I try to understand the code, and I did already a lot of searches into the code, how the code has been structured. I've learned a lot, like as example, if we take the stain, we have a lot of values, and basically the game has a value pointer table. So if I click on the reference, the value table is on the C9F addresses, or the C9 addresses. So if we go up, we're gonna see eventually that all the values table is on this list, and it starts over here, this list. So over here you see the section segment 029. This is a table with references to a value. So in the binary there is a value table pointer. The same thing also exists for functions. Functions has a function pointer table. So this is the pointer where the function is, and this is the table basically. Each function has also a TOS table. A TOS table is being used where the values are being stored. So as example, in this case, the TOS table starts at this address, specifically over here on this point. It's starting. So if you're gonna read a function as example, so maybe we can take that HTTP as example. So if we look at this case, this thing is being resolved by a TOC table. If that TOC table is not being set in in the debugger, this name is not being resolved. So I wouldn't see the strings being set over here. So let me show you how I done that. Basically, if you know what the let me check it again. Was it in general? And then analysis, yeah. If you know the address of the TOS, you have to set it over here. Once you have set it, you click OK and you say reanalyze program. So he will have an arrow over here, scan your whole program, and the TOS table will be set then correctly, and all the variable names will be resolved. So this code will look correctly, and you can actually see the strings in your assembly code. It took a while for me before I figured out. Um, yeah, now I'm a bit confused what I wanted to say more. Um, yeah, basically this is it so far. I basically get stuck and I don't have a clue how to resolve this. So if you guys have any way to help on this project, uh, explaining these function calls and what he needs a result would be a really good indication how we could resolve the network protocol. So what is my expectation? If we can resolve this call and the other call, I expect, so if we can resolve both of these cases, I expect that he will connect to the following domain name over here. This domain name. He will do this if you actually gonna go to the online menu. I'm not gonna show it right now, but maybe I can in the screenshots. Yeah, if you go to tournament and click rank match or quick match, he will connect to this domain name. This is what I've seen in the network packages. So maybe even I can show you. So if we click invite, main menu while online match successful or online match. So if you go to an online match, what you will see is that he will be so, oh god, not this one. No DNS? Come on, DNS? No DNS. Oh yeah. Yeah, it does. So what you actually can see, he's actually resolving this domain name to IP address. So this is 000, and we see that it is being resolved to this, and then it's being resolved to what IP? This is for the storage. No such of name. Oh, this one doesn't resolve it. Let's take the other package. And DNS. Yeah, still didn't resolve it correctly. What is this? Uh, was it then on this one? We only have these ones. Okay. Booting up to main. Was it in this one? DNS. Yeah, okay, yeah, okay. So what we actually can see is he's doing the NP things and he's gonna resolve it. He's doing the IP mapping. He's doing the NP from the PlayStation again. And eventually, okay, only on the booting he's not doing that. Let's say we're gonna join and accept, right? Okay, yeah, okay. Over here, you can actually see he's resolving the Battle Royale final domain name. So this is also what I'm expecting when you're gonna play online. He's gonna connect to this IP, and this IP will connect to uh, 43? No, the 334879. So what you actually can see is that these services will connect to port 10023 on on TCP. So this is gonna be an encrypted connection, and we could recreate that. Right now in my project, I created these services over here. So we're creating a matchmaking server that is on that port 10023. Even though I still need to add SSL, but that's gonna be later. If we see this connection happening on my server, then it will be okay. In my emulator, I haven't resolved this domain name yet, even though I just don't see that domain name being resolved. So that's the main problem. Maybe I should. Well, it's gonna be a thing for another day. Um, I hope I showed some results that could be pretty interesting to look into if you're digging into this project. This video is gonna be pretty bad. I haven't prepared myself, and I hope I managed to transfer some information that you guys can use. I'm not sure how far I'm gonna get into this project anymore. It's pretty hard, and who knows, I'm gonna get some new inspiration to tackle these problems. I still gonna give it a try because I did a lot of reverse engineering and patching a lot of these stuff, so a lot of code is being managed pretty nicely. So yeah, so uh, yeah, it has a network manager. Basically, there's a lot of references what kind of CPP files is being used. A title fighter, as you can see. It has the SAM protocol. I figured out. I saw some references about it. He's using the SAM PO, PAPO as a thread name. So if we click on this, oh no, it was the other one. Sorry that I made a mistake. There is a thread name. That should be triggered eventually. Oh god, now I clicked it away. This one also doesn't have a reference. That is weird. Okay, let's resolve this. Find a signature. Now we have a pointer, and now we have the reference. Poip, poop. So this is the value table, right? And then we can see where it's actually been used. So it's being used over here. The some GAPO and the PAPO. Not sure where this is being used. I don't have a clue. Okay, well, you already see I'm struggling pretty hard with this, and let's hope I will find the light and make some new progress in the next few days, or the next few weeks, or months, or years. Who knows? Well, this is gonna be it. I hope you guys gonna have a nice day, and a happy new year. Bye bye.